Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, and thank you so much for joining me today for the Friday Masterclass, where today we're going to be talking about 5 specific tips for delivering better videos. And this is going to encompass a couple of different things. Some things related to audio, some things related to video and color, some basic reframing, captioning for more accessibility, and then just a couple other little things kind of along the way to kind of help you kind of sweeten what you'll ultimately deliver, regardless of where it's going, whether it's going to social network or it's going to YouTube or Vimeo or to the big screen. Talk about and showcase a couple of the cool things and some of the cool presets that we have inside Premiere Pro. As always, if you're following along on the live chat, I will be watching the chat here at b.net/Adobe Live. So if you want to ask a question while we're doing it, be sure to do it there. My finger's all messed up. And I'll try and answer as we get to it. Happy Friday, everybody. And it's worth mentioning, I've been talking a lot about this Beatles Get Back film on Disney Plus. If you haven't seen it and you're a Beatle fan, shame on you. But it's definitely, I think it's really more of a fan film. It's 8 hours, it's amazing. But they're doing a one-day, one-time only IMAX theater viewing of the infamous, very famous rooftop concert, which is only 45 minutes. As it turns out, this other edit of this Get Back performance is about 1 hour and 34 minutes. I know this because I just secured my tickets. Woohoo! So I will be attending that on January 30th. It's one day only. There was only one time available for me. So if you're in, and I know they've got it in the UK as well, or at least it's in theaters in the UK, and I know it's here throughout the US. So if you have any interest in doing that, I can't wait. Highly, and by the way, I despise IMAX. You've watched me here. I don't like IMAX. I don't like anything wraparound. I'm not a huge fan of, Atmos mixes in general. But it should be pretty spectacular, especially having watched the remastered footage. It's just amazing. So can't wait. Hope you enjoy that. Okay, as always, a couple quick shouts before we get going here. Anthony, how's it going? Tim and Bliss, Gareth, Rick, Annika, Umacorn. Thank you. You listed those out so I didn't have to scroll through them. Z by HP, great to see you. General Kenobi, Theo. All right. Divom, great to see you. David Lewis. Hopefully it will help you with your YT channel. Yes, indeed, I hope so. Ankit Singh, great to see you. Thank you ever so much for watching. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to Premiere Pro. And as I've been doing a lot recently, I've wanted to showcase footage, that I shot that day. So we're doing just that. So just earlier this morning, went outside. It's been really cold mornings in the desert here recently. It was strangely warm about 5 days ago. It got super warm again, which is a little scary in January. It's kind of cooled off. So I went outside. You can see wet-haired and all. And just created a little video because the first thing I want to talk about among the 5, number 1, is the concept of audio sync and synchronizing in Premiere Pro automatically with secondary audio. So I did just a quick little sort of teaser thing for the master classes here. We're going to assemble some of these. And this was just shot with the iPhone 13 Pro Max front camera, which I also didn't realize, or maybe I did, I had just kind of forgotten. It also shoots 4K HDR from the front camera in ProRes 422 HQ. Holy cow, Rec 2100 HLG. So amazing. So this is that footage. So just take a quick look and listen here. I'll turn this down so it's not quite so loud. And again, this is just using the on-camera mic, which is fine in most scenarios. In fact, as is often the case, it actually is even better than I anticipated. But take a quick look and listen. Here we go. Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Be sure to check out my latest masterclass where we talk about 5 essential tips for producing better videos online. You want to catch those masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss. Okay. What a smile. By the way, if you're noticing, and we're going to come to this in a moment here, under the creative section, it's showing that this content is very blown out. And if you happen to also notice, I spy with my little eye, that this footage here is also looking very, very, just completely blown out. Yes, because that's the magic of this iPhone 13 Pro Max shooting 4K HDR. Because yes, when I pulled the footage in here, now again, this is not what it necessarily looked like to me out on the screen, but of course, because it's capturing in HDR, there's all this additional light information that it's storing there. So on first blush, if you're looking at this thing, you're going, oh my God, that's completely destroyed. Again, a couple of quick tweaks, and we showcased this on the stream a week or two ago. All right, you can see here, I just dropped the exposure down just a bit, dropped a bit of those highlights, just slightly increased saturation, didn't touch anything else, and it went from that to that. So again, it's just sort of, once again, the amazingness of this iPhone 13 Pro Max camera. I'm constantly blown away by it. All right, so that audio wasn't bad. I happened to actually record some secondary audio for this, and I did a couple of additional takes, which you can see here. And what I also did was I captured the audio separately 3 times using another iPhone. So I've talked about this a lot, using an iPhone as a secondary audio capture source. If you've got something like a Zoom, pick your H value, H2, H4, H6, you can use this as well. I imagine if you have an Android phone with a good audio voice recorder, you can use that too. I've always been a fan on the traditional iPhone of the classic pre-installed voice recorder app. It just works great, and it works in every scenario. And it's just in an effort to capture a secondary audio source. Now, as I said, for something quick like this, kind of just hand in front of your face, you can probably get away with just using the phone audio, or that phone's audio in video recording mode. The only reason to do a secondary is, one, you just never know what's going to happen to that original audio. Two, if you're shooting with a proper camera, meaning outside of a mobile camera, the audio is not always the best, depending upon the distance, how far away you are, right? You're going to have some of that space. You might have some echo. You might have it's just not going to sound like it's really on mic. So you do a secondary source. Now you can do that with boom mics, right? So like the one that I have above me here, or you can just hold something like your iPhone just out of frame and capture it that way. So that's what I did here. Now, you can see I didn't actually have a clapboard, so you'll hear me as I'm doing this. I was saying like, oh, I need a clap. Hold on, let me just go to my mixer here so I can mute this track too. Stitch with audio. Here we go. Just mute this. What is this? Track 3. Okay. You'll see I'm like, I need a clapboard, so I just stomp on the ground here. Or, whichever. Okay. I could line these up manually, visually, right? Synchronize them manually, visually. But we don't have to. We have auto synchronization built into Premiere. I've shown this a couple times, but I keep seeing people showing this online and going, wow, that's amazing. So cool. You're the greatest. Oh, yeah, we've had that for a long time. So I'm going to select the video clip and those 3 not continuous audio clips. Right click, control click here, and choose synchronize. All right. And when I do that, it just pulls up this very simple dialog for us and says, well, how do we want to synchronize this? And obviously we're going to synchronize by audio. Now, if you were using time-coded media, and specifically you were trying to capture and synchronize via timecode, you can do that here. It's already defaulting to audio. It knows that's what we want to do. It's all single channel audio here, so it's not an issue. Sometimes if you have multiple channels, that's why you might select a different channel. Typically, it's going to be track 1. Let's go ahead and click OK on this. It does its thing. And if you noticed, it just slipped and slid all of those clips accordingly, just like that. And of course, it's synchronizing it against the original camera audio, right? Which we see here. Hold on, I'm just going to make these a little bigger so we can visually kind of see what's happening. All right. So again, we can kind of, zoom. We can zoom in here. And you can see how it's lined those things up based on my, right? Automatically, right? So control click, right click, synchronize, does it for you. So now, and let me go ahead and while I'm in this stitcher here, just so it's a little bit louder for the stream, I always do this because again, we're just dealing with the native capture here, which isn't terribly loud. Let me go ahead and just throw on a little bit of brick wall limiting here, just so it's a little bit louder for you listening. Which also means I don't have to turn it up quite so loud here in the studio. I'm going to do a wideband arc. All right, that should be fine for this. All right. And now, if I go ahead and wind back. All right, look at that weird stop face. Let's turn off track 1 here. Let's mute that. And now let's actually play track 3 and take a listen to that. Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Be sure to check out my masterclass this Friday where I talk about 5 essential tips for delivering better videos. This is one you're not going to want to miss. Catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. See you there. Okay, now that's the secondary audio capture. If we go back to the original camera audio, the original audio from the iPhone 13. Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Be sure to check out my masterclass this Friday where I talk about 5 essential tips for delivering better videos. It's a different sound, right? And as I said, shockingly, it was way better than I anticipated. It actually even sounds better than my secondary capture. The one difference being that there's a lot more bass capture on the iPhone 13. So as a result, if you were listening carefully, it's just picking up a lot more of that just kind of ambient background hum. I think maybe my pool filter may have been on, so you're kind of hearing this persistent hum. Whereas my iPhone secondary capture, which I was holding like this, you can't see it, but it was being held right here, isn't picking that up. And it's getting a bit more of the sort of direct mid-range detail of my voice. So again, at this point, you have options. This is why you're doing secondary audio. It doesn't necessarily mean the secondary is better. It's really just having to have a second source in case something on that initial source sounds bad, or maybe I was too close, or again, too far away. You get the idea. The point is, auto synchronization is one of those hidden gems. It's awesome. I think I even have, yeah, I do. I have one for this clip here as well. So let me grab this, come in here. So here's the original one. Let's select these two. Go ahead, synchronize audio, and just pay attention. You'll see them slip in position. It just did it. It moved that audio over. Again, as we look, we can now verify. All right, everything looks to be nice and synced. All right, back to my mixer here. Now we can, if I wanted to get creative, we could do a left-right pan, which is going to sound weird that way, but you're hearing both at the same time. Hear what those sound like. Of course, you're hearing this in mono at the moment, but let me just see what that sounds like here. Hey everyone, Jason Levine here. Be sure to check out my latest episode of the Masterclass, where we will talk about 5 tips for delivering better videos. All right. Not bad. And in many cases, maybe you're going to blend the two, right? This is one of the nice benefits of having, say, an overhead or a boom mic in studio, but also having like a desktop condenser or something. You might use the desktop condenser for a bit more of that clarity, or if you were using something like a Shure SM7B or equivalent. Again, if you're on top of that mic, you're going to get a lot of that low end, but if you've got a boom above you, that's where you can capture some of the brighter, crispier ambience around you and just kind of take that warm edge off if it's too warm, all right? So your mixing sources, how you mix them is entirely up to you. We're not going to get into that today, but the idea is this auto sync functionality is great. It also means that you don't have to use things like pluralize. Not that there's anything wrong with using pluralize. There's other reasons to use that, but we have this natively in Premiere, and this is an essential feature for sure. All right, let's go over to the comments here. Thank you, Steve. All right. Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. Oh no, you're getting delayed audio. Oh, that's very sad to hear. Sorry about that. Not seeing anyone else complain, so maybe it's just, it could just be the stream momentarily. Maybe try refreshing. Patrick Masters, sorry I'm late. Jason turned me on to Premiere back in 2006. His passion and energy was contagious. You are very welcome, Patrick. Old school. Kevin Martz, you're getting delayed audio too. Ugh. Sufi Motivation, hello. I will be rich one day. Hello, Mark. I use Tentacle Sync. Nice. Oh, delayed. Does that mean it's not in sync or it's... Oh, that's... What? Oh, I gotta see now. Old school. Kevin Martz. starts, you're getting delayed audio too. Looks to be... All right, let me change one little thing. If my audio appears a little off sync, let me know here. I'm going to change one of my settings here. Let's see if that remedies the issue. Terry White and I have been doing a lot of testing. Hold on, I'm just going to change something here. We've been doing a bunch of testing in Wirecast, which is what we use to stream, and we are both currently using an unofficial beta, which actually solved the issue we were encountering. So thank you to all our friends at Telestream for knocking that out. Okay, Kevin's saying, audio's coming in a second after my mouth moves. Well, that's not good. All right. That's really bad. Yeah. Thank you, Matthew Perkins. All right. Audio's in sync for Umacorn and for Patrick. Okay, and it's good in France, says Christelle. Okay. Perfect. Wrong button. Your knowledge and insights are amazing. Okay, yes. Oh, no. Yeah, okay, Premiere may be doing that. Yeah. All right. We won't worry about that for now. Let's do this. You can trust me that it's in sync, right? Okay. So let's move on to the second thing here. All right. Second tip. All right. So one of the things that I constantly get asked about is how come when I'm looking at my video, it's either like too saturated or not saturated enough, or it's too contrasty or not contrasty enough, or there's no shadow detail, or the shadows we're like crushing black, so it just goes into complete darkness. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Well, there could be a number of reasons for that. But one tip and one thing that you can do to ensure that your video looks at least within sort of, I don't want to say legal broadcast limits. What does that mean today's day and age? Who cares about broadcast at this point? We just care about getting it online, getting it in front of people. It doesn't have to be on TV, right? That's great. Broadcast is awesome, but that's not what we're talking about here. How do I ensure that it's just going to kind of look the same everywhere? Well, that's difficult because all screens are different. You know, a 10-year-old flat screen TV is going to look a little bit different than a very brand new, 4K HDR monitor today. They're just going to look different. But one of the key things that you can use in Premiere are the Lumetri scopes. Now, we've talked about these. I've shown these many times. This could be, as I've mentioned, and we did this about 2 years ago, you could probably spend 30 minutes just talking about how to use these scopes. And that's really the most common thing people are just confused by. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. All right, so I thought the other day, how can I just boil this down to two very essential things? And I think I've talked about it this way before, but I got it, okay? So obviously, we're looking at a combination of things here: saturation, brightness, color. First of all, I took one of those clips and I exported it out, you can see, as a Rec 709 H.264. So this is effectively, right, the export that we do, and then we upload to YouTube. And like, God, it's pretty contrasty. Like if you just look in the trees, I mean, there's some decent detail again because it was HDR, but it kind of, the shadows get a little dark. And for my taste, it's just a little too much contrast, maybe slightly too much saturation. The skin tone's nice. It's also reminded me that I should have a full-time makeup artist. But, it's just a little too much. And if I polish this to YouTube, it might look even more saturated. Maybe it'll be even sort of more contrasty. So we're going to look at the Lumetri scopes. And when I look at the scopes here, first of all, I need to put this into 8-bit because this is 8-bit footage. You'll see down below here, it tells us that it's in Rec 709, which is the standard color space that you're going to find for delivery on YouTube and elsewhere. Here's how you can read these scopes. All right, here's the two things you need to know about Lumetri scopes. And I'm going to relate this to audio. Simple, right? So we have a scale here from 0 nits or IRE to 100. All right, effectively brightness. If you take a look here up at 100, you can see that we are pegging this line, meaning that we're hitting it, which means that our brightness and our saturation and everything is at the limit. And similarly, if we go all the way down to the bottom here, 0, we're also hitting that limit being your shadows. All right? So just like with audio, If we hit above 0, we're distorting, we're clipping. Well, that's what we're doing to the color and the brightness up here, right? It's like simultaneously too bright and too saturated and too contrasty. And down here, it's too dark. We've crushed the black level too much, and we're losing shadow detail. So, not that you can't go all the way down, not that you can't go all the way up, but you don't want to be all the way up, all the way down, all the time. You wouldn't do that with audio. You shouldn't do that with your video either. This is a really horribly simplified way of talking about this. I've almost lost track myself. But you get the idea, right? Don't peg the top of this scale. Don't peg the bottom. So how do we combat that? Couple of things. Well, as mentioned, first of all, we can start tackling the highlights. But as I do that, and that's doing a pretty good job right here, we're like blown out highlights. All right, bring them in. Even on this MP4, it's actually bringing back a little bit of detail in my face, but it's not really fixing that top 100 IRE up here. So let's go to the whites slider. And as I begin to pull the white level down, now you can see without adversely affecting brightness, we're now pulling that level into a more comfortable legal broadcast range. Now, having done that, you might say, okay, that's cool. Maybe it's getting a little dark. We're going to expose it more, but wait just a second, because again, now we're dealing with a shadow issue. We can combat this in one of two ways. Again, we can come over to shadows and lift the shadows. But again, we still have some areas where it's just total dark, right? So we're still missing some detail there. So we went to the whites slider before. Let's adjust black level now. And as I begin to pull some of that up, you'll see how it's kind of lifting the floor right there. All right. Maybe we even drop the contrast a little bit. Okay. Now let's add a little bit of exposure just to kind of brighten this back up. Okay. And now that I do this, I think, well, I could probably saturate it a little more if I wanted, or maybe desaturate ever so slightly, depending upon what I need. You can also use faded film, which you'll find under adjustments, which is going to add a slightly more film-like aesthetic. But did you see the moment I did that? Take a look down here. So again, we still have some remnants. Again, this isn't bad, but there's still some areas that just go to total black, total darkness. So if I add a little bit more of that faded film in there, I can lift those up entirely and just kind of restore this back to normal. So if we play this now.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here.
Okay. Here's the before. Here's the after. Before, after. And we can add even more if you're going, well, you know what? It's still not bright enough for me. Okay. You can expose it more. But don't peg up at 100. And as you take a look now, we're not. As we take a look down below, we're not hitting 0 either. Okay? So you're just trying to kind of bring those colors down. It's like limiting, right? And we do have a broadcast limiter on our export settings. In fact, there's even an effect, a video limiter effect, which is doing that same thing. All this is really doing is just ensuring that you're just going to have a slightly more balanced output across wherever you're watching it, all right? Now, again, there are times and there are reasons to push these things to the limit. But if you're finding that all of your stuff is either overly bright or overly saturated or overly contrasty, that's probably why. And it's really easy to do, particularly if you're shooting. Like I see this, and it's, again, I talked about this. I use Nikon cameras, as does Terry. I'm not a huge fan of the Sony Color Science. Beautiful lenses. They have the best autofocus in the business, without question. There's lots of great things that Log 3 Color and Sony does that's amazing. I don't like the overall look. I don't like the way it looks, in particular on me, but just in general, and how it kind of makes faces and skin tones look. It's a little too contrasty for me, a little too much. Doing these small things can help with some of that. And again, if you take a look, sometimes whether you have a LUT applied or not, you might see that you're kind of pushing the limit a little bit. So just by kind of compressing those things down ever so slightly, you're just putting them in a slightly more comfortable range, because you never really know what's going to happen when you upload to YouTube or Vimeo until after the fact, right? You're recompressing something that potentially is already compressed, throwing data away. color, saturation, contrast can all change ever so slightly. So this is kind of a good way to bring those things back into a legal range and just make it look better overall, okay? A little bit on using Lumetri scopes and Lumetri color, all right? All right. After you make the settings to this clip, are they able to be copied and transferred to other clips? Excellent question, and the answer to that, of course, is yes. So let me show you. So let me go ahead and I'll take that same clip again. Here, so let's just reveal. I want to make sure I'm grabbing the right one. This one here. Okay, so I'm going to drag this in again. So this is another instance of the same thing, right? So this is the graded version. This is the ungraded version. If I want to share these settings, right-click, copy. All right. Come over to this new clip here. Right clip. Oh, wait, hold on. Did I have it on the right one? I think I had the wrong one selected. Let me do this. Copy. Over to this one. Paste. Attributes. All right. And in this case, we're going to paste the Lumetri color effect that was applied. Click OK. And there you go. Before, after. Really easy to copy, paste, and share, right? And by the way, that copy paste works for any effect applied on any clip, including any clip-based audio effects, as you may have seen. So when you do the paste attributes, it'll not only do any, again, native channel volume panner effects, but any third-party audio effects as well. If there was essential sound stuff applied, there isn't, but it'll allow you to carry those over. And also motion, opacity, time remapping changes. If those were also implemented on the previous clip, you can select, I didn't need motion, but you can choose to copy paste any of those attributes, as well as, again, multiple effects, okay? All right. Has Adobe fixed the saturation issue on exports on Macs? I know there was a LUT floating around to help address it, but it's not perfect. Patrick Masters. So Patrick, the short answer is yes, but some of that was, but again, I don't know exactly which question you're referring to. So what you're seeing actually here, this was a change that we implemented, I think, in the October release of Premiere, where because we've now added support for these new HDR color spaces, the footage that people were seeing sometimes in the timeline and or when they went to export was different because you now have to, or I should say, you now have the option to change the color space. So if you wanted to maintain working in Rec 709, in this case, you can't change it to Rec 2100. But if I were with this original footage in Rec 2100, when I go to export, I have the option to keep it in Rec 2100 or to export to Rec 709, in which case you just want to make sure that you're monitoring correctly so you know what those colors look like. So yes, you can use LUTs. You can also make those changes, again, how it's handling content in the sequence. You can make the sequence Rec 709 and still allow it to import Rec 2100, right? You can do that right here. Okay, so that's a sequence setting issue. I think that's the question you were asking. There's also LUTs that we've added to combat some of that. If you're talking specifically about the QuickTime gamma issue, I think you need to go to the forums for that one. I don't run into this problem, but some people still run into this weird QuickTime gamma. Is it like gamma 2.2 and it should be 2.4, or was it gamma 1.8 and it should be 2.2? I've forgotten. This has been kind of a long-standing thing. But I believe we have solutions for all of that now. You'll just have to check. I apologize. I can't remember what it is. Okay. Let's see. That's what you're looking for. Oh, very cool. All right. Very glad to hear it. All right. Hey, Claudia, what's up? We need another masterclass hour on Shark Puppet. You are too funny and too kind, Steve. All right. Okay, moving on to number 3. Loudness checks, limiting, and music. All right, so let's go back to this one here. And what I wanted to show you here was yet again, so as I was just doing moments ago, I was saying for the stream, let me just add a little bit of limiting on here just to make this overall a bit louder. Now, anyone who publishes content to YouTube or anywhere knows that volume is just it can vary a lot, right? And you can definitely tell someone who's been producing video for a while versus someone who maybe they just got lucky and it turns out great and it's loud and even. most cases, it's not terribly even, or it's too quiet, or it's somewhere in the middle. Now, having said that, I know we've got some of our esteemed listeners and watchers on here, produce a lot of podcast audio, David Lewis being one. Talked about this a lot about, we don't necessarily want to destroy all dynamics, but you do want to amplify things and you do want to even things out. And I showed this last week really briefly, which is why I'm bringing it up again, is just this concept of adding a little bit of brick wall limiting to just add overall volume to everything uniformly before you export. So to do that, let me go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to duplicate this timeline here. Let's duplicate this. All right. We'll call this final video, give it a different name. Open this up. All right. And I think this, I think the second batch of takes were actually better. Let's see. Go back into our mixer here.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. A recent masterclass where I talk about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday.
I think I also did one where I'm going like around and around. Oh yeah, this won't make you puke.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss. See you there.
Wow. Okay. Lighting matters, friends. All right, let's go with that one, just because. All right. So we're gonna choose this one. All right. So I'm just going to snap that in there. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Drag these. All right. And let's just bring this to the beginning of the timeline. All right. Just like that.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips.
Okay. So one other thing I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of music, and Steve was just mentioning Shark Puppet. So of course I happened to pull the Shark Puppet song that I recorded with my young son over here. Let's unmute this and let's have a little bit of music playing. All right. Shrink this even more.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos.
Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use that little tool that we've shown a couple times here, Remix, to automatically stretch this to fit the duration it needs to be, which is right about here. So snap it to there. I'm going to right click and we're going to choose, what am I doing? Oh, I want to remix this. Okay, so let me go ahead and open up Essential Sound. Let's dock this over here. I'm going to tag this as music. Turn on duration. And whoa, where's my remix tool? What? Is remix missing? Did we take remix out? Where did it go? And why is all this other stuff missing here? Well, that's weird. God, this is never fails, right? Never fails. That's interesting. Where did it go? Oh, thank you, Diane. Thank you, Cody. Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. Dizzy now. Yes. Okay. Well, no remix for whatever reason, so we're not going to worry about that. Well done. Good job. Just drop the audio a little bit there.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos.
All right. And as I mentioned, we're going to add a little bit of brick wall limiting just to make the overall a little bit louder And again, just give everything a little bit more kind of punch. So to do that, we're going into our audio track mixer here. Now you'll want to twirl down the effects and inserts section, which is this little sort of slightly hidden triangle up at the top left of the audio track mixer. And then we're going to come over to the mix bus slider. That's the one that's all the way on the right, the master mix slider, and come into amplitude and compression, multiband compressor, okay? And under multiband compressor, this is where we can add some brick wall limiting. Now, as I mentioned, there's a lot of different settings in here. If you don't know what this is all about, you can check out some of the previous live streams. Here's the tip on how to get some nice brick wall limiting quickly. All right, now there is a preset that I recommend starting with, and you can actually leave the setting, all of it on if you so desire, which is this broadcast preset. This is actually really good. It's not aggressive, but it has kind of everything in place. So whereas last week I was saying, okay, bypass, turn all these things off, we're not even going to do any of that. Choose the broadcast preset. The only other thing you need to do are adjust the settings under the limiter panel right here, all right? And there's two things you want to focus on, threshold and margin. The margin is how loud, the maximum level that we're going to allow this to be. Now, just as we were talking about lumetri scopes, do we want it to go to 0, i.e. 100 IRE? No. Do we want it to go to negative 0.1 decibels below 0? No. No, you really don't. Typically, I will set a margin of around -2. Also, if it's going to YouTube, almost always a margin of around -2, okay? And then you're going to use the threshold setting to adjust the amount of amplitude that you're trying to give it. So I have it at 0. I'm going to start playing this back, and then I'm going to drag that threshold slider. It's a negative logarithmic scale, so again, we're going to go in reverse, right? And as we continue to exceed that threshold, it's going to get louder and louder without ever exceeding -2 decibels. So let's take a listen.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss. See you there.
Okay. So you can see I've got about -9.2. And if we wind back, we can turn it on or off, kind of hear what it sounds like before and after. So here's the before.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today on our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss.
Okay. We could probably push it even a little bit hotter. Again, that's up to you. Key is this one small thing is just going to glue everything together and make everything just a little bit, it's just going to make it sound a little bit better. And we are using, based on this preset, true multiband compression. So by the way, if you want to start learning about, well, what are each of these bands doing? How is it affecting the bass frequencies? You can come in here and you can solo each of those and hear just what it's doing to the bass frequencies.
Today in our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos.
Oh, is it bypassed? That's why I'm going, why is it doing nothing? Don't freak me out like that. Here we go. Bass frequencies. Now, if you see here, the threshold is -20. We've got a ratio of 3:1. So we're just barely, in fact, we really need to increase this a bit more, all right, to affect those bass frequencies at all. Just barely hitting it. Let's go to the low mids.
We're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch
Again, very minimal compression. That's actually what we want for those. We're not giving it any additional gain. Go to the upper mids.
We're talking about 5 essential tips for producing
also a 2:1 ratio here. Want to give a little bit more clarity in that upper mid range, you can give it a little bit more gain, and then the extreme high range, I won't put that on here. You get the idea. So again, a lot of ways to use this multiband compressor to glue everything together, make it a little bit louder, and it's just going to make the delivery a little bit better. All right. Can you overdo this? Absolutely. You can really mess up your audio if you overuse this. Be careful. Watch some of my previous streams on compression and limiting. If you don't do this, though, it's just going to be probably a bit quiet. Maybe you get lucky, maybe it won't be. 99 times out of 100, though, you're going to want to add some kind of brick wall limiting to just give everything just a little bit more amplitude, because that's what people expect. And if they watch your video next to, some, pro gamer or, a trending YouTube channel that has, obviously a lot of production value, you're going to notice that difference and you're going to go, mine stink. This is going to make it that much better, I promise you. Okay. You can crank the volume all you like, but don't touch my levels, Jackie Brown. Love that. Diane Wilson, you are very welcome. Yes, and again, I recommend, just try this. Now, I also recommend, now not all of these have the brick wall limiter enabled, by the way. So by the way, what's doing that loudness? So there's the compression part. That's doing just that. That's compressing. I'm not going to get into all those descriptions right now. But the limiter part is what's giving everything that overall volume. So this is the checkbox that you want to enable, all right? So not all of these presets have the brick wall limiter implemented. So like this classical master you saw there, it does not, all right? Now that has different settings for compression as well. That's gonna be a little bit warmer, a little bit quieter, and a little bit more dynamic by nature, right? Classical music, you don't typically wanna squeeze, compress to death. Although if you listen to a lot of modern digitally recorded classical productions, that's exactly what they do. This is primarily, as I go on a slight tangent rant about audio limiting, why I can't stand listening to, and sorry Disney, I love Get Back, but I can't stand listening to soundtracks of new Disney movies because they compress the heck out of it. And you have these kind of big band orchestras with someone singing over top. And it just feels like they just dropped that voice on top of all the music. It's never glued together. It's just way too loud. It's way too in your face. I just despise the way it's. That's a personal thing. I can't listen to those things. I just can't. Oh my goodness. My son loves Encanto, this new movie. Great movie. Trying to listen to the soundtrack in the car. I can't do it. I can't do it because it's limited to death. There's no dynamic range whatsoever. Awful. Awful. But that's how it is. All right. So be mindful. You can do that to your own videos. Maybe you want to do that. I've certainly done it. I have some music on Spotify where I over-limited and I think it sounds terrible. I also have some music on Spotify where I under-limited and that also sounds terrible. So what's the answer? You got to find that middle ground. And you have to find what you like, right? Lots of different ways to do that. Okay. I bet they did drop them over top. Yeah, funny. Really shows how to get back there from the time you selected the clip. I'm not sure. Let's hold on. Oh, I see. Patrick is saying, yes, I'll show you how to get there. So yeah, now Patrick, just on that, Patrick is talking about using, so it's the same thing. So again, in the audio track mixer, you're going to twirl down the effects sends section, and then you're going to go to the mix bus fader, which again is the compilation fader for everything. And you'll add multiband compressor under amplitude and compression. Now, you were just talking about mastering, which is this. Now, you can also use this. This has some presets too, okay? This one has a couple of elements. It has reverb, exciter, widener, and then loudness maximizer. It also has EQ. I don't use this one because this one, again, now we're kind of veering off a little bit, but this particular effect adds a color to things that I don't care for. In particular, a brightness, a crispiness that is just not pleasing to my ear. All audio effects will have some type of color, if that may. They all sound a little different. First of all, that a lot of these are modeled after analog things. So there's like AI in them to make them sound like they're replicating the sound of something that was once an analog device. So there's tech that's going to make them all sound a little different. Some will be bright, some will be warm, some will sound very digital, some will sound very analog. I don't love this one because for me, it just always sounds kind of brittle and a little crunchy. But that loudness maximizer slider is essentially doing what we just did in that other one, except that you're working off of a percentage. So you don't really have any you don't really know like what it's doing. That's the other thing here. It doesn't tell you, is this a brick wall limiter or is it just maximizing volume, but it's still, I could still have peaks. I'm not even entirely sure. Let me hold on. What, I don't want any of this EQ. Let me turn all these things off. I don't want any exciter. Again, I could talk about all these things here. I don't use exciter on digital. Almost never. I mean, if you use something that's really muddy, maybe, but generally this is very, very dangerous. Let me see what happens when we go to the, oh, I may pull up my audio meters too, so I can at least monitor what's happening here. So let's see if that loudness maximizer actually implements brick wall, meaning that digital ceiling. I can't remember if it does or it doesn't.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today in our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss. See you there.
Okay, so did you see that? So it looks like that loudness maximizer is in fact applying a brick wall with a ceiling at -1, okay? So you don't have any indication of that. You can see it's just pegging it super, super hot. Now that didn't sound terribly bad. I'm just not a huge fan of this effect. Again, for my ears. All right. To each their own. Okay. Chris Metz, would you manually tune voiceover when using old school effects or recordings? You know, it just depends on, again, what you're trying to do. Ultimately, you know, when I'm preserving a voice, it's a combination of things, right? It's the microphone that captured it. It's the preamp or device that captured it that's going to color that sound. So I'm just trying to get it back to what sounds natural to me. Putting it through like a DBX compressor, like case in point, we're talking about analog modeled things. So if I wanted to add some analog limiting to this, where's my DBX? Here, I'll just grab this one. This is a Uri 1176. This is a classic Beatles Abbey Road processor, okay? Looks analog, sounds analog, even has analog 50 or 60 cycle hum can be introduced into the signal at a low level because that's what these devices did because they were analog and they provided a little bit of hum. Yes, it's going to add additional color. So you want to, you know, clean or just leave the vocal untouched, apply this and then see what it sounds like. Maybe this isn't the compressor you want, right? I wouldn't use a ton of analog compression if I'm going for like a super crunchy EDM kind of track. It's just going to make it a little too warm and a little too like thlumpy. You know, you want, and also these compressors aren't super, like they don't have the attack of a more modern compressor. You wouldn't use this for like dance music probably, right? But you could use it for the kind of stuff you're hearing here. It just depends. All right. Such a happy, bouncy shark song. All right. Jason, how long have you been in the audio adjusting world? Super knowledgeable. Thank you. Oh, yes. Well, I am an audio engineer by profession. I've been making records for over 30 years, studied production engineering, graduated from Berklee College of Music, and worked in the music industry for 10 years as an audio engineer. A couple of credits on Billboard and my own stuff on Spotify. So yeah, a long time. It is my passion. Yeah. Flompy. Yeah, Cody, I was, you know. The world makes up a lot of words. I can too. Matthew Perkins, brightness like Klipsch. Yes, funnily enough, I have a pair of Klipsch. They're old as heck. I don't use them anymore. I used to use them as the bright test. It's funny you're saying that. I would put stuff on, and if stuff wasn't bright on them, I was like, okay, this is probably mixed just right. If it was way too bright, then I was like, okay, yeah, it's already too bright because these speakers really overemphasized brightness. So yeah, that's great. And again, all speakers are different. All headphones are different. Earbuds. There's so many things to consider. Okay. You're very welcome, Diane. Okay. Jason R. Can you target LUFs in Premiere Pro? Yeah, so great question. Short answer is you can target, but if you're wanting to maximize to a specific loudness units relative to full scale, destructively, The way that you do that in Premiere is on export using loudness maximizer. So just one more thing here. I got 2 more things I got to show you, and I got 5 minutes to do it. Okay, this is for you, Jason R. Export media. We're going to go into the audio we're going to go into effects. Zzz, all right, and at the very, by the way, there's that video limiter I was talking about, also as a standalone effect. And then we have loudness normalization here. All right. And if I want it to conform to, let's say, we're in the US, the ITU standard, and I want to target a loudness of the ITU, which is -24 for broadcast, okay? Max true peak, so that's dBTP, decibels relative to true peak, not dBFS. I can set that here. All right, you can do it on export like that. You can also do this manually in Audition on a clip-by-clip basis. And you know, now that I say that, let me just check here. Do we have, because you know, I don't think any of the standalone effects, I don't think the standalone effects will allow you to do that. Okay. Now, just on that, this is also worth pointing out. So many audio things here. You know, a lot of times when we're looking at audio, we're also monitoring. So you've seen me show that traditional loudness radar, that TC electronic loudness radar. So this one, very confusing for many. Again, now we're measuring in LUFs.
Every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. This is one you won't want to miss. See you there.
So this is showing you again over time your program loudness. You have all of your settings here, just as we saw before. This we've had in Premiere for a while. What we added more recently is actually an even better and more intuitive loudness meter. And this one shows, you know, so you see your input level, short-term, integrated, momentary, and then it's giving you the range, true. It's just a little cleaner. Go backwards. And so again, here, it's giving you the measurement in LUFs, okay? So you could mix towards it, but if you're trying to say, okay, I need this to be exactly -18, there's no destructive effect in here that will do that directly. You can do that on Audition, send it right back to Premiere, or you can do it on export, okay? Patrick, you did years ago, you were like a hippie rock star, and I think you used old Serious Magic products. Oh my God, yes, Patrick. That was 2006. Yeah, that's crazy. Diane, do you have a video that goes over deleting ums and gaps in Audition and importing back to Premiere Pro? Yes, I do, Diane. I believe if you go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/JasonLevineVideo, I believe if you just look at the audio masterclasses, I want to say it's about using markers. It's under audio editing. So if you just search on editing, like audio editing, or search on markers, you will find it. If you can't find it, hit me up on Twitter. I'll find the video for you. But yes, I've done it a couple of times. It might even be in one of the Audio 101s. I apologize. I just can't remember. Okay. So now that we have this, I'm going to put this back. Shoot, got 2 minutes here. Last 2 things. Tips 4 and 5 are reframing and captioning. So let's see if we can do all this in the given time. It's seeming unlikely, but we're going to try. All right. I said I would do 5 tips. What a dope. Just talking so much. Good grief. Okay. First thing is reframe. So I want to deliver this to Instagram, and I'm going to right click on my sequence, and I'm going to choose auto reframe sequence. And because I'm going to Insta, I want to do it as square. It doesn't have to be. That's what I'm going to choose. I'm going to track my motion by default. There's no nested clips. Click create. And what this does is it goes through and it builds a square version focusing just on my face. You saw it actually move in real time just there. And if we play it back now.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today in our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific.
All right, pretty sweet. Now it's square. Last step here is we're going to caption this, okay? Because while I'm publishing to Insta, it's not going to caption for me. And I want this video to have the most visibility and the most accessibility to everyone. So I'm going to click on our text panel, create transcription, audio, all right? I don't need to recognize different speakers. It is English. Click transcribe. All right, it transcribes the sequence. What happens is this now sends this up to the cloud. It's going to identify everything that was spoken in here and deliver to us a fully editable and time-coded transcript. Now, because of time, I'm not going to bother editing all of this just now, and we are processing this in real time. So you're seeing this happen for real. By the way, this is available to all Creative Cloud subscribers. If you're in Premiere today, you can use this function. It's amazing. Caption your content. I can see already it has a couple of spelling mistakes here. We can quickly verify this.
Hi everyone, Jason Levine here. Today in our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos. You can catch the masterclasses every Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time.
Now look at that. The only thing it didn't get, 10:30 a.m., tempered in, as legit. Like, what? 10:30 a.m. All right? It's so ridiculously accurate. I mean, it's just shocking. And then once you do that, you edit that transcript, you click create captions. All right? We're going to use subtitle. Yes, subtitle default. Looks good. Create. It's creating the captions. All right. Now, if I select one of these caption blocks, I can come over to Essential Graphics. That default is atrocious. Ask me how I really feel. It's atrocious. Minion Pro, the worst font ever. Let's just use Adobe Clean. That doesn't look much better. Why can't I? Oh, I'm running. What? Futura, save me. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm going to save this as a track style. Oh, and we're out of time. I'm going to lose you all. But now it's captioned.
Today in our masterclass, we're talking about 5 essential tips for producing better online videos.
All right. Those are your 5 tips, everybody. We're out of time. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.